श्री श्री राधा विनोद बिहारी जू की जय। श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन जू की जय। नितिल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अष्टोत्तर शतश्म शिल भक्ति वेदांत नारायण गोसाई महाराज शिल गुरुदेव की जय। नितिल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अष्टोत्तर शतश्म शिल भक्ति वेदांत वामन गोसाई महाराज की जय। नितिल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अष्टोत्तर शतश्म शिल भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। नितिल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अष्टोत्तर शतशिष्म शिल भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोस्वामी महाराज शिल परम गुरुदेव की जय। तदीय शुभ तिरुभाव तिथि की जय। नितिल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अष्टोत्तर शतशिष्म शिल भक्ति वेदांत वामन गोस्वामी शिल भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोसाई प्रभुपाद की जय। नितिल प्रविष्ट महाभागवत शिल गौरक्षर बाबाजी महाराज की जय। नितिल प्रविष्ट शिल सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय। नितिल प्रविष्ट वैष्णव सार्वभौम शिल जगन्नाथ दास बाबाजी महाराज की जय। श्री रूपनो गौरिया गुरु वार्ग की जय। श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ शारद गोसाई प्रभु की जय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर राय रामानंदारी श्री गौर पार्षद वृंद की जय। नाम अक्षय शिला हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल ब्रज मंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय। सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदत्त गिरिराज महाराज की जय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जय। श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी की जय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री पूर्णमासी योग माय की जय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय। श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। श्री कार्तिक व्रत की जय। दामोदर व्रत की जय। उर्ज व्रत की जय। उर्जेश्वरी श्री विश्व भानुनंदिनी श्रीमती राधा ठाकुरानी की जय। शिल भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोस्वामी महाराज तिरुभाव तिथि की जय। श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापरकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवम् श्री राधा कृष्ण पदान् सहगना ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपदाय राधिकाय प्रियात्मने श्रीमद्भक्ति वेदांत नारायणति नामिने। श्री कृष्ण लीला कथानि सुदाक्षम् औदार्य माधुर्य गुणैश्च युक्तं वरं वरण्यं पुरुषं महन्तं नारायणं तं शिरसा नमामि। नमो विष्णुपदाय श्रीकेशव प्रियात्मने श्रीमद्भक्ति वेदांत वामनिति नामिने। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Acharya Singharupine Shri Srimad Bhakti Pragyana Keshava Iti Namine Atimartya Charitraya Swashritana Chapaline Jiva Dukhe Sadartaya Shri Nama Premadayine Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Iti Namine Shri Varshabhanavi Devi Daitai Kripabdai Krishna Sambandhave Jnana Dayane Prabhave Namaha Madhuryo Jala Premadhya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Shrimurtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Viruta Pasidanta Dantaharine Namo Gaura Kishoraya Shakshad Vairagyamurtaye Vipralambar Sambhode Padam Pujayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Saccidānanda-namane Gaura Shakti Sarupaya Rupanugavarayate Gaura Virbhava Bhumistang Nirdeshta Sajana Priya Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannatayate Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nityananda Namastubhyam Premananda Pradayane Kalo Kalmashanashaya Janava Pataye Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha Guru He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jayatang Surato Pangor Mama Manda Matergati Matsarva Swapadam Bhojo Radha Madana Mohano Devyad Vrindaranya Kalpa Drumada Srimad Ratnagara Singhasanasto Srimad Radha Srila Govinda Devo Prishtalavi Sevamano Smarami Shriman Rasarasaram Vivangshivata Tatastitaha Karshan Venu Swaner Gopir Gopinata Shri Estuna Angashama Chata Birabhito Mandi Kritendi Varam Jadyam Jagurorochisham Vidadatang Patam Varasya Shriya Vrindaranya Vilasinang Hridi Lasad Damabhiramotaram Radha Skandha Niveshitva Jvala Bhujang Dhyaye Madamodaram Vrindayai Tulusidevai Priyayai Keshavascha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Sattvatai Namo Namaha Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One second. Right. Davanala sama sangsara dahane. One second, let me just change something in the settings. Davanala sama sangsara dahane. Tagda jiva kula yudara karane. Karuna varida kripa varida nibandi guna sindhu gurur charana kamala nritta gita vadya Shri Hari kirtane rahena magana mahamata mane romancha kampashu hoya gora preme Vandishe Guru Charana Kamala Sadarata Jini Vigraha Sevane Shingara Ar Mandira Marjane Karena Niyukta Anugata Jane O Vandishe Guru Charana Kamala Charva Chushaleya Peyara Samoy Prasadana Krishnarati Swadu Hoy Bhakta Yaśodāne Nijatripta Roy Vandishe Guru Charana Kamala Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam Namarupa Gune Ananta Madhurya Lila Ashvadane Lubda Chitta Jini Hana Pratikshane Vandishe Guru Charana Kamala Vraja-yuvadanda Rati Sambardane Yukti Kare Saki Gane Vrindavane Ati Dakshata He Priyatama Gane Vandishe Guru Charana Kamala Sarva Shastri Gahai Shri Harir Swarupa Bhakta Gana Bhave She Anurupa Kintu Jini Prabhu Priyatama Rupa Vandishe Guru Charana Kamala Jahara Prasade Krishna Kripa Pai Jara Prasade Anyagati Nai Trisandhya Kirtirastava Dhyane Bhai Vandishe Guru Charana Kamala Guru Devashtaka Ati Jatna Kori Brahma Muhurte Pore Ucha Kori Vrindavana Nath Shakshat Shri Hari Seva Pai She Vastu Siddhi Kale Vandishe Guru Charana Kamala, Vandishe Guru Charana Kamala, Guru Deva Jaya, Guru Deva, Guru Deva Jaya, Guru Deva Jaya, Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Guru Deva Jaya, Guru Deva. Krishna hoite chaturmukha, hoy Krishna sevamukha. Brahma hoite Narade Ramati, Narada hoite Vyasa, Madhva kohe Vyasa Dasa, Purna pragya parmana bhagati, Nrihari Madhava vangshe, Akshobhya paramahamse. Shishya boli angikara kore, Akshobhya shishya jaya, Tirtaname parichaya, Taradase jnana sindhu tare, Taha hoite daya nidhi, Taradasa vidya nidhi. Rajendra hoilo taha hoite, Tahara kinkara jaya, Dharma name parichaya, Parampara jano bhalo mate, Jaya Dharma dase khyati, Shri Purushottama jati, Ta hoite brahmanya tirtha suri, Avyasa tirtha taradasa, Lakshmi pati vyasa dasa, Taha hoite Maravendra puri, Amaravendra puri vara shishya vara Shri Ishvara, Nityananda Shri Advaita Vibho, Ishvara puri ke dhanya korilen Shri Chaitanya, Jagar Guru Gaura Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu Shri Chaitanya Radha Krishna nahe anya, Rupanuga jane rajivana, Vishwambara Priyankara Shri Sarupa Damodara, Shri Goswami Rupa Sanatana, Rupa Priya Mahajan Jiva Raghunatana, Tarpiya Kavi Krishna Dasa, Krishna Dasa Priya Vara Narottama Seva Para, Jar Para Vishnata Yasha, Vishnata Bhakta Sata, Baladeva Jagannatha, Tarpiya Shri Bhakti Vinora, Mahabhagavata Vara, Shri Gora Kishora Vara, Hari Bhajanete Jar Mora, Shiva Shavana Vivara, Sada Seva Seva Para, Tahara Daita Dasanama, Prabhupada Antaranga, Shri Sarupa Rupanuga, Shri Keshava Bhakti Pragyana, Oriya Vedanta Veta, Maya Varata Mohanta, Kauravani Prachara Chardhama, Pracharila Kauravani Bhakti Vedanta Swami, Puraila Prabhupada Kama, Keshapriya Mahajan, Vamana Narayan, Kauravani Tade Pranadhana, Esava Hari Jan, Gorangera Nija Jan, Tadera Uchishte Morakama, Guru Parampara, Guru Parampara, Parampara, Guru Parampara, Guru Parampara, Guru Parampara, Parampara, Guru Parampara, Vrindavana Vasi Jata, Vaishnavera gana pratame vandana kori sabara charana nilachala vasi jata Mahaprabhur gana bhumite padiya vandam sabhara charana Navadvipavasi jata Mahaprabhur bhakta Sabhara charana vandam hoya anurakta Mahaprabhur bhakta jata Gora deshe sthiti Sabhara charana vandam Koriya pranati Je deshe vaishe Gaurangera gana Urdhva bahu kori vandam Sabhara charana Hoya chena hoi bhena Prabhur jata dasa Sabhara charana vandam Dante kori ghasa Brahmanda tarite shakti dhare jane jane Eveda purane guna gaye jeva shune Mahaprabhur gana saba patita pavana Tai love moi papi loinu sharana Vandana korite moi Kato shakti dhari Kama buddhi doshe moi Dambha matra kori Tathapi mukera bhagya manera ulasa Doshak shami mo adhame koro nija dasa Sarva vansha siddhi hoy Jama bandha chute Jagate dulabha hoya prem dhana lute Manera vasana purna achirate hoya Devaki nandana dasa Elo bekoya jaya Vaishnav Thakur jaya Vaishnav Thakur Vaishnav Thakur jaya Vaishnav Thakur jaya Vaishnav Thakur Vaishnav Thakur Vaishnav Thakur jaya Vaishnav Thakur Śrī Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Śrī Advaita Gadadhara Śrīvasari O Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Śrī Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Prabhu Jive Daya Kori Sapashara Sviya Dhama Sahayavatari Atyanta Durlabha Prema Kori Baredana Shikhaya Sharanagati Bhakatera Prana Danyayatma Nivedana Goptrite Varana Avashya Rakshive Krishna Vishvasa Palana Bhakti Anukula Matra Karyera Shrikara Bhakti Pratikula Bhava Bhajanangikara Sharanga Sharanagati Hoibe Jahara Tahara Prarthana Shune Śrī Nanda Kumara Rupa Sanatana Pade Dante Trinakori Pakati Vinora Pade Tuhu Pada Dhori Kandiya Kandiya Bole Amitoya Dhama Shikhaya Sharanagate Koro He Utama Jaya Sapashara Jaya Gora Hare sapashara jaya Gaura Hari jaya Rupa Sanatan jaya Rupa Sanatan Rupa Sanatan jaya Rupa Sanatan. O Krishna kirtana gana nartana paro premamritam bhonidhi dhira dhira jana priya priya karo nirmatsaro pujito Shri Chaitanya kripa bharo bhuvi bhuvo Bharavahantarako Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyago Shri Jiva Gopalako Nana Shastra Vicharanaika Nipuno Sadharma Samsthapako Lokanam hitakarino tribhuvane Manyo Sharanyakaro Radha Krishna Padaravinda Bhajana Nandena Mataliko Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyago Shri Jiva Gopalako Shri Gauranga Gunarnuvarnana Vido Shraddha Samriddhandito Papatapanikrintano Tanubhritam Govinda Ganamritai Anandam Buddhivardhanaika Nipuno Kaivalya Nistarako Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyago Shri Jiva Gopalako Taktva Turnama Shesha Mandalapati Shrenim Sada Tuchavat Bhutva Dina Ganeshako Karunaya Gopena Kantashrito Gopi Bhavar Samritabdilahari Kalola Magno Moho Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyago Shri Jiva Gopalako Kujat Kokila Hangsa Sarasagana Kirne Mayura Kule Nana Ratna Nibadda Mola Vitapa Shri Yukta Vrindavane Radha Krishna Maharnisham Prabhajato Jivartadoyo Muda Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyago Shri Jiva Gopalako Kujat Kokila Hangsa Sarasagana Kirne Mayura Kule Nana Ratna Nipada Mola Vitapa Shri Yukta Vrindavane Radha Krishna Maharnisham Prabhajato Jivartadoyo Muda Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyago Shri Jiva Gopalako Asankhya Purvaka Nama Gana Nativi Kalavasani Krita Nidrahara Vihara Kadi Vijato Chatanta Dino Chayo Radha Krishna Guna Smriter Madhurima Nandena Samohito Vande Gopalako Radha Kunda Tate Kalinditanaya Tire Chavam Sivate Premon Maravashara Shesha Dashaya Prasto Pramato Sada Gayanto Chakara Harer Gunavara Bhava Vibhuto Muda Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyago Shri Jiva Gopalako He Radhe Vraja Devike Chalalite He Nanda Suno Kuta Shri Govardhana Kalpa Pada Patale Kalindivane Kuta Ago Shanta Viti Sarvato Vrajapure Kedar Mahavivalo Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyago Shri Jiva Gopalako Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghuyago Shri Jiva Gopalako Jai Rupa Sanatan, Jai Rupa Sanatan, Rupa Sanatan, Jai Rupa Sanatan, Jai Rupa Raghunath, Jai Rupa Raghunath, Jai Rupa Raghunath, Bhatta Rupa Raghunath, Jai Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta, Shri Jiva Gopal, Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta, Shri Jiva Gopal. One second, I just want to check to make sure the sound levels and everything is okay. Okay, well, nobody made any comments about it. If it's peaking, like if it's too loud or anything, please let me know and I'll check the comments later on. And Dandavat pranams, everybody. Okay. Vrindavane viharato rihakeli kunje Mata dvipa pravarakotu kavi brahmena Sandashayasa yuvayo vadanaravenda Dvangdang videhi mai devi kripam praseda Adevi kaku bharagar gadayadhyavacha Yache nipatya bhuvi dandavarur batarti Asya prasadam abhudasya janasya kritva Gandharvike nijagane gananang videhi Shame rama ramana sundarata varishta Saundarya mohita samasta jagajanasya Shamasya vama bhujabhatta tanum kataham Tvam indira virala rupa bharang bhajami Tvam prachadena mudira chavina bidaya Manjira mukta charanam chavidaya devi Kunje vrajendra tanayena virajamane Naktam kada pramuditam abhisarayishye Kunje prasuna kulakalpita kelitalpe Samvishtayor madhura narma vilasa bhajo Lokatraya bharanayoshcharanam bhujani Sambhahayishati kadayuvayo chanoyam Atvat kundarodhasi vilasa parishamena Sedambuchumbi vadanam puraharshiyovam वृन्दावनेश्वरि कदा तरमूलभाजो संविजयामि चमरीचाय चामरेण अलीनं निकुञ्जकुहरे भवते मुकुन्दे चित्रैव सुचितवती रुचिराक्षिणाहम् भोगां ब्रुवां न रचयेति वृषां वृषां ताम् अग्रे व्रजेन्द्रतनया सकदानुनेशे वाग्युदकेलिकुतुके व्रजराजसूनुं जित्वा मदाम् अधिकदर्पविकासि जल्पम् अफुला विरालभि अनल्पमुदीर्यमाना स्तोत्रं कदानुभवतिमवलोकयिष्ये अया कोऽपि सुष्ठु वृषभानुकुमारिकार्या सम्प्रार्थनाष्टकमिदं पठति प्रपन्ना सा प्रेयसा सह समेतधृता प्रमोदा तत्र प्रसादलहरी मुररीकरोति जय राधे जय राधे जय राधे जय श्री राधे जय वृषभानुनन्दिनी राधे राधे वृषभानुनन्दिनी राधे राधे राधा मुकुन्द पद सम्भव कर्म बिन्दु निर्माञ्छनोपकरणे कृतदेहलक्ष्यम् उत्तुङ्गसौहृदविशेषवशात् प्रगल्भां देवीं गुणैः सुललितां ललितां नमामि अराकासुधाकिरणमण्डलकान्तिदण्डी वक्त्रश्रियं चकितचारुचमूरुनेत्रम् राधा प्रसादनविधानकलाप्रसिद्धां देवीं गुणैः सुललितां ललितां नमामि अलसलसार्भुजगशत्रुपतत्रचित्रा पट्टां शुकाभरणकाञ्चुलिकञ्चिताङ्गीम् अगोरोचनारुचिविघर्हण गौरिमाना देवीं गुणैः सुललितां ललितां नमामि अधूर्ते व्रजेन्द्रतनये तनुषुष्टुवाम्यां मदाक्षिणाभवकलाङ्किनी लाघवाय राधे गिरां शिनोहितामिति शिक्षयान्तीं देवीं गुणैः सुललितां ललितां नमामि राधामभिव्रजपते कृतमात्मजेन कुटमनागपि विलोक्य विलोहिताक्षीम् पाभङ्गिभिश्चमचिरेण विलज्जयन्तीं देवीं गुणैः सुललितां ललितां नमामि अवात्सल्यवृन्दवसतिं पशुपालराज्ञा सख्यानुशिक्षणकलासु गुरुं सखीनाम् राधाबलवरजजीवितनिर्विशेषां देवीं गुणैः सुललितां ललितां नमामि अयं कामपि व्रजकुले वृषभानुजाय पृक्षसपक्षपरवेमनुरुद्धमानम् सद्यस्तदिष्टघटनेन कृतार्थयान्तीं देवीं गुणैः सुललितां ललितां नमामि राधा व्रजेन्द्रसुतसङ्गमराङ्गचार्यां वर्यां विनिश्चितवतीमखिलोत्सवेभ्यः तां गोकुलप्रियसखी निकुराम्भमुख्यां देवीं गुणैः सुललितां ललितां नमामि ananda namoni lalita kunalalitani padyani patati nirmala drishtirashto apritya vikarshati janang ninja vrindamadhe tam kirtida patikulo jwalakalpavali adevim gunaisu lalitam lalitam namami devim gunaisu lalitam lalitam namami ajaya lalita devi jaya lalita devi lalita devi jaya lalita devi jaya lalita devi jaya lalita devi lalita devi jaya lalita devi o bhraturantaka patane bhipati harini ekshayati papino pipapa sindhu tarini Niramadure birapya shesha cheta bandini Mam punatu sarvadara vinda bandhu nandini Hari vari dharaya bhimandito dukandava Pundarika mandayodya danda jali tandava Sanakama pamarogra papa samparandini sarvadara vinda bandhu nandini shikara bimishra jantu durvipaka mardini nanda nanda nantaranga bhakti pura vardini tira sangama bilashi mangalanubandini mampunatu sarvadara vinda bandhu nandini Chakravala Jushta Sapta Sindhu Bhedini Shri Mukunda Nirmitoru Devya Keli Vedini Kanti Kandali Virendra Nila Vrinda Nindini Mampunatu Sarvadara Vinda Bandhu Nandini Mathurena Mandalena Charuna Bimandita Manata Vaishnava Dvavardhanaya Pandita Urmidor Vilasa Parmanapa Paravandini Mampunatu Sarvadara Vinda Bandhu Nandini Ramyatira Rambamana Bokadamba Bhushita Devya Gandha Bakadamba Pushparajirushita Nanda Suna Bhakta Sangha Sangama Bhinandini Mampunatu Sarvadara Vinda Bandhu Nandini Kula Paksha Malikaksha Hamsa Laksha Pujita Bhakti Vidya Deva Sita Kinarali Pujita Kira Gandha Vaha Gandha Janma Bandharandini Mampunatu Sarvadara Vinda Bandhu Nandini Chirvilasa Varipura Burbhuvasa Apini Kirtitapi Dormudoru Papa Marmatapini Palavendra Nandanangaraga Bhanga Gandini Mampunatu Sarvadara Vinda Bandhu Nandini Dushta Buddhirashtakena Nirmalor Vishtitam Tvamanena Bhanuputri Sarvadeva Vishtitam Yasaviti Vardayasa Sarva Papa Mochane Bhakti Puramasya Devi Pundarika Lochane Mampunatu Sarvadara Vinda Bandhu Nandini Mampunatu Sarvadara Vinda Bandhu Nandini Jaya Mune Jaya Mune Jaya Mune Jaya Jaya Mune Jaya Vishaka Devi Jaya Vishaka Devi Vishaka Devi Jaya Vishaka Devi Nijapati Bhujadanda Chatra Bhavam Prapadya Pratihata Madadrishto Danda Devendra Garva atula pratula shaila sheni bhupam priyame nijane katani vasam dehi govardhanatam brahmadamadana lila kandare. Sorry, let me do that over. Brahmadamadana lila kandare kandare te rachayati navayuno dandam asme namandam iti kila kalanartam lagna kasta dayorme nijane katani vasam dehi govardhanatam anupama manivedi ratna singhasanorvi ruhajara darasano droni sange shuranga sahabala sakhi bisan khelayan swapriyame nijane katani vasam dehi govardhanatam rasaniti navayunor shakshinim dana kelet duti parimala vidham shama vedim prakasha rasika varakulanam modamashvalayame nijane katani vasam dehi govardhanatam haridaitam apurvam radhika kundamatma priya sakamiha kante narmana linga gupta navayuvayuga khelas tatra pashan raho me nijane katani vasam tehi govardhanatam stala jala tala shashpar bhuruhachayayacha pratipadamanukalam hanta samvardayanga trijagati nijagotram sarthakyam khyapayame nijane katani vasam tehi govardhanatam surapati krita dirga drohata kushtaraksham tava navagriha rupa syantare kurvataiva agabakari punochar dattamana drutame nijane katani vasam tehi govardhanatam Nripahariddasa Sheni Varyeti Nama Mritamidam Shri Radhika Vaktra Chandrat Prajanavati Lakatve Klipta Vedai Sputame Nijane Katani Vasam Tehi Govardhanatam Nija Jana Yuta Krishna Maitri Rasakta bhrāja-mānam pakshi Vrata Sokyaikadata Aganita Karunatva Mamuri Krita Tantam Nijane Katani Vasam Dehi Govardhanatam Nirupari Karunena Shri Saccidānanda-rūpaṁ Tvai-kapati shatotpi Tvat priye narpitosmi iti khalu mama yogya tam tam agrina nijane katani vasam dehi govardhanatam rasatadashakamasya shila govardhanasya kshitidhara kula bhartur ya prayatna dadite sasapari sukha desmen Vasamasada shaksha chubada yugala sevam Ratnamapnoti turnam Nijane katani vasam Tehi govardhanatam Nijane katani vasam Tehi govardhanatam Giriraja jaya govardhanam Giriraja jaya govardhana Jaya Govardhana Jaya Vrindavana Govardhana Jaya Vrindavana Jaya Radha Kunda Jaya Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Jaya Shama Kunda. Just checking the comments to see if anybody responded. Okay, pretty good. Cool. Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande, Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande, Mana Mana Samadhukaram Arpaya Nijapada Pankaja Makarante, Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande, Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande. Yadapi sam ayadapi samadhishu vidirapi pashyati natava nakagram harichin idami chami nishamyatava chuta tarapi kriparbhuta vichim Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande, Krishna Deva Bhavantam Bhakti-rudanshati yadapi madhava natai mamati lamatri paramṛṣṭam tarapitavadhika durghata ghatana vidhatri Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande, Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande. Yadya sanatana kalitarvutarasabhara nevasatu nityami hamrita nindini vindana madhurimasaram Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande, Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande. Mana Mana Samadhukaram Arpaya Nijapara Pankaja Makarande, Mana Mana Samadhukaram Arpaya Nijapara Pankaja Makarande, Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande, Krishna Deva Bhavantam Vande. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite Gokula Taruni Mandala Mahite Jaya Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite Damodarāṣṭakam Vardhana Veshe Hari Nishkuta Vrinda Vipineshe Jaya Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite Vrishabhanudade Navashashileke Lalita Saki Guna Ramita Vishake Karuna Gurumai Karuna Bharite Sanaka Sanatana Varnita Charite Radhe Karuna Gurumai Karuna Bharite Sanaka Sanatana Varnita Charite Ashirupa Sanatana Varnita Charite Jaya Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite Gokula Taruni Mandala Mahite Gokula Taruni Mandala Mahite Jaya Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daite Sucharu Vaktramandalam Sukarnaratnakundalam Suchachitanga Chandanam Namāmīśvaraṁ sudirghanetrapankajam shikishikandamurdajam anangakotimohanam namami nandanandanam sunasikagramuktikam sachandradanta-panktikam navam budangachikanam namami nandanandanam karena venuranjitam kati karendraganjitam dukulapita shobhanam namami nandanandanam trivangadeha sundaram nakhadyuti sudakaram amulya ratna bhushanam namami nandanandanam sugandhayanga saurabham uravirajikostubham spurvachrivatsalanchanam namami nandanandanam vrindavana sunagaram vilasanogavasasam surendra garvamochanam namami nandanandanam prajangana sunayakam sada sukha pradayakam jaganmana pralopanam namami nandanandanam Śrī-Dāmodarāṣṭakam patedya śradayanvita tarit bhavaktim dustaram labhetaram kriyukmakam namami nandanandanam namami nandanandanam namami nandanandanam namami nandanandanam munindra vrindavandite trilokashokaharini prasanna vakra pankaje nikunja bhuvilasini brajendra bhanu nandini brajendra sunu sangate kada karishyasi hamam kripa kataksha bhajanam ashoka vriksha vallari pitana mandapastite pravala vala pallava prabharunangriko male parabhaya spurat kare prabhuta sampadalaye kada karishyasi hamam kripa kataksha bhajanam anakaranga mangala prasanga pangura bhuvam savibhramamsha sambramam triganta bana partanan nirantaram vashikrita pratitinandanandane kada karishyasi hamam kripa kataksha bhajanam tade suvarna champaka pradipta gaura vigrahe mukha prabha parasta koti sharadendu mandale vichitra chitra sanchara chakora shavalochane kada karishyasi hamam kripa kataksha bhajanam Mato nadatiyo vane pramoramanamantite priyanurakaranjite kalavilasa pantite ananya dhanya konjaraja kamakeli kovide kada karishyasi hamam kripa kataksha bhajanam ashesha hava bhavadira irahara bhushite prabhuta shata kumbha kumbha kumbhi kumbha shushani prashasta mandahasa churna punasokya sagare kada karishyasi hamam kripa kataksha bhajanam mrinala vallavallari taranga ranga dolate latagra lasya lola nila lochana balokane lala lulan milan manogya mukta mohanashite karishyasi hamam kripa kataksha bhajanam. I'm going to close my window because it's really loud. Kada karishyasi hamam kripa kataksha bhajanam kada karishyasi hamam kripa kataksha bhajanam kada karishyasi hamam kripa kataksha bhajanam Suvarnamalikanchita trireka kambukantage trisutramakaligona triratna dipti diditi salola nila kuntala prasona gocha gompite kada karishyasi hamam kripa kataksha bhajanam nitam bimbalam pamana pushpamekhala gune prashastaratna kinkini kalapamadhyamanjule karinda shunda dandika varoha sobagoruke kada karishyasi hamam kripa kataksha bhajanam aneka mantranaaramanju nupuraravaskalat samajaraja hangsavansa nirvanati gaurave vilola hemavalari vidambicharu chankrame kada karishyasi hamam kripa kataksha bhajanam ananta koti vishnu loka namra parmajarchite himadrija pulo maja virincha javara prade apara siddhi riddhi devta satpadanguli nakhe kada karishyasi hamam kripa kataksha bhajanam Maheshwari Kriyeshwari Sareshwari Sureshwari Trivera Bharateshwari Pramana Shashaneshwari Rameshwari Kshameshwari Pramodakananeshwari Vrajeshwari Vrajadhipe Shiradhike Namostute Iti Mamarbutam Stavam Nishamya Bhanunandini Karotu santatam janam kripa kataksha bhajanam bhaveta daiva sanchita trirupa karma nashanam bhaveta da vrajendra suna mandala praveshanam kada karishyasi hamam kripa kataksha bhajanam. Namāmīśvaraṁ saccidānanda-rūpaṁ lasat-kuṇḍalaṁ gokule bhrāja-mānam. Actually, no, I'll sing it in the evening tune because there's lots of people watching in the West right now. So, namāmīśvaraṁ saccidānanda-rūpaṁ lasat-kuṇḍalaṁ gokule bhrāja-mānam yaśodā-bhiyolūkhalād-dhāvamānaṁ parāmṛṣṭam atyaṁ tato namāmīśvaraṁ saccidānanda-rūpaṁ lasat-kuṇḍalaṁ gokule bhrāja-mānam arodam tamohurnetra yogmamre jantam karam bhoja yogmena satankanetram mohoshvasa kampa trirekhanka kantha stita graivadamo taram bhakti padam namāmīśvaraṁ namāmīśvaraṁ saccidānanda-rūpaṁ lasat-kuṇḍalaṁ gokule bhrāja-mānam oyete drik-svali labhe ananda-kunde swaghosha-nimajjantam akyapayantam tadiyeshita gesho bhaktirjitatam puna prematastam shatavritti bhante o namāmīśvaraṁ saccidānanda-rūpaṁ lasat-kuṇḍalaṁ gokule bhrāja-mānam o vairāṁ deva mokṣam namokṣavadimva o nachanyam vrineham varisharapiha idam te vapurnata gopala-bala o sada me manasya virastam kimam namāmīśvaraṁ saccidānanda-rūpaṁ lasat-kuṇḍalaṁ gokule bhrāja-mānam idam te mukhamboja avyaktanilai avritam kuntalai-snigdha raktaśta-gopyā muhushtumitam bimba raktatarane o manasya virastam alam lakshala namāmīśvaraṁ saccidānanda-rūpaṁ lasat-kuṇḍalaṁ gokule bhrāja-mānam Damodara-nanta Vishnu prasiddha prabhuduka jalabdhi-magnam kripa-drishti-vrishtyate dinam patahano agriha-nishamam agyam etakshidrish o namāmīśvaraṁ saccidānanda-rūpaṁ lasat-kuṇḍalaṁ gokule bhrāja-mānam akuberatmajo pata murtaiva yadvat tvayamachita bhakti bhajo-krito cha tatha prema bhaktim swakame prayacha o namakshe-graho misti Damodare namāmīśvaraṁ saccidānanda-rūpaṁ lasat-kuṇḍalaṁ gokule bhrāja-mānam namastestu dhamne spuradipti dhame tadyadarayata avishvasadhamne namāradhikāya tvadiya priyāya o namāradhikāya tvadiya priyāya namāradhikāya tvadiya priyāya o namanantali namāradhikāya tvadiya priyāya namāradhikāya tvadiya priyāya namāradhikāya tvadiya priyāya priya priyaya namo nanta lilai devaya namo nanta lilai devaya Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Damodara Radha Damodara Jaya Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radhe Jaya Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radhe. So today, in honor of my Param Gurudev's disappearance day, my Param Gurudev Shishimad Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, we're going to sing the Radha Vinod Bihari Tattvashtakam. And then I'll begin our reading. Radha Chinta Niveshena Yasya Kantir Vilopita Śrī Kṛṣṇa Charanam Vande Radha Lingita Vigraham Sevya Seva Kasam Bhoge Dvayor Beda Kuto Bhavet Vipralambe Tu Sarvasa Veda Sada Vivardate Chilila Mitunam Tatam Veda Veda Machintyakam Shakti Shakti Matoraikya Yuga Parvartate Sada Tatamekam Param Vidyal Lilaya Tadidastitam Gora Krishna Swayam Hitar Ubhavo Bhayam Apnuta Sarve Varna Yatra Vishta Gora Kantir Vikashate Sarva Varne Nahi Nastu Krishna Varna Prakashate Sagunam Nirgunam Tatam Ekameva Dvitiyakam Sarvaneta Gunar Gora Krishna Rasastu Nirgunai Śrī Kṛṣṇa Mithunam Brahma Taktatu Nirgunam Hitar Upasate Vrishya Vigya Yathatu Shavakatina Shri Vinora Vihariyo Radhaya Milito Yada Tadaham Vandanam Kuryam Saraswati Prasadata Haiti Tattvashtakam Nityam Yapate Shadayanvita Krishna Tatam Abhigyaya Gorapade Bhave Mati Radha Chinta Niveshena Yasya Kantir Vilopita Radha Chinta Niveshena Yasya Kantir Vilopita Śrī Kṛṣṇa Charanam Vande Radha Lingita Vigraham Śrī Kṛṣṇa Charanam Vande Radha Lingita Vigraham Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Saccidānanda, Jai Gaura Hare, Saccidānanda, Jai Gaura Hare, Jai Saccidānanda, Jai Gaura Hare, Saccidānanda, Jai Gaura Hare. Jai Radha Vinod Vihari, Radha Vinod Vihari Radhe. Jai Radha Vinod Vihari, Radha Vinod Vihari Radhe. Jai Bhakti Pragyan Srila Keshav Goswami, Bhakti Pragyan Srila Keshav Goswami. Jai Bhakti Pragyan Srila Keshav Goswami, Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami. Jai Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Jai Guru Deva, Jai Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Guru Deva, Jai Guru Deva. Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol. Jai Shri Saccidānanda Gaur Hari ki Jai, Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju ki Jai, Śrī Govinda Gopinath Madan Mohan Ju ki Jai, Śrī Radha Damodar Ju ki Jai, Jai Srila Gurudev ki Jai, Srila Param Gurudev Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj ki Jai, Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Swaparshad Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Shri Rupano Gaudiya Guru Varga ki Jai, Śrī Kartik-vṛtti ki Jai, Urja-vṛtti ki Jai, Urjeshwari Shri Vrishabhanunandini Srimati Radha Thakurani ki Jai, Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrindadevi ki Jai, Shri Giriraj Maharaj ki Jai, Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam ki Jai, Shri Satyavrata Muni ki Jai, Shri Krishna Dvaipayan Veda Vyasdev ki Jai, Shri Sanatan Goswami Pad ki Jai, Shri Gurudev ki Jai, Shri Jiva Goswami Pad ki Jai, Shri Radha Damodar Ju ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai, Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Alright, so now we will begin reading from Damodarāṣṭakam, verse 1. Yesterday we read the foreword and the preface by my Param Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj. If you missed that, you can go back and watch it from the previous day, or you can download the Kindle book or the PDF of Damodarāṣṭakam. So let me share my screen again. And I'll check back at the comments periodically, just to make sure everything's all right. And Pradyumna Prabhu, yes, we should sing these every day during Kartik, definitely. All right. So here we are, verse 1. Namāmīśvaraṁ saccidānanda-rūpaṁ, lasat-kuṇḍalaṁ gokule bhrāja-mānam, yaśodā-bhiyolūkhalād-dhāvamānaṁ, parāmṛṣṭam atyaṁ tato drutya gopyā. So let's go through the synonyms now. Namami, I offer obeisances, Ishvaram, to the Supreme Controller, the possessor of all potency, saccidānanda-rūpaṁ, the origin of all incarnations, the very embodiment of eternity, knowledge, and bliss, Śrī Kṛṣṇa. Lasat-kuṇḍalaṁ, on whose cheeks makara-shaped earrings are frolicking, gokule, in the transcendental abode of Gokul, the home of the gopas, gopis, cows, calves, and so forth. bhrāja-mānam. He is splendidly situated as the brilliant conception. Yaśodā-bhiyolūkhalād, out of fear of Mother Yaśodā. Vṛtti, after jumping from the grinding mortar. Dhāvamānaṁ, running away. Parāmṛṣṭam, forcefully seized from behind. Atyaṁ, ultimately. Drutya, running very swiftly. Gopyā, by Mother Yaśodā. Translation. I offer obeisances unto Śrī Kṛṣṇa, the possessor of all potencies, whose beautiful form is the entirety of concentrated existence, knowledge, and bliss. On his cheek, makara-shaped earrings are swinging playfully. His infinite brilliance shines forth from his most splendid residence, the transcendental abode, Śrī Gokula. He was afraid of Mother Yaśodā because he smashed the earthen pot of yogurt. When he saw her coming, he leapt down from the grinding mortar and ran away. Nevertheless, Mother Yaśodā ultimately caught hold of him from behind, for she ran more swiftly than he did. So now we begin the Dig-darśinī-ṭīkā, the commentary by Srila Sanatana Goswami Pad. Shiradi sahitam natva Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam Dāmodarāṣṭakam vyakya digesha darshate dhuna. This is his Sanskrit commentary. So before my Gurudev started this work on translating this, he first did his Mangalacharan. So we'll do the Mangalacharan. Ajnanatirmirandasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Śrī Gurave namaha. I'm not going to read the translation, I'm just going to sing the verses. I'll read the translation. I offer my humble obeisances to Śrī Guru. With the torchlight of divine knowledge, he has opened my eyes, which were blinded by the darkness of ignorance. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Acharya Singharupine Shri Srimad Bhakti Pragyan Keshava Iti Namine Atimartya Charitraya Swashritananchapaline Jiva Dukhe Sadartaya Shinam Premadayine. I offer my humble obeisances to the lion-like Acharya, Jagadguru Shri Srimad Bhakti Pragyan Keshava Goswami Maharaj, who always resides at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. His character, which is completely beyond mortality, is such that he nurtures those who take shelter of him with immense divine affection. But moreover, he always feels distress because of the suffering of the conditioned souls, and he blesses them with praying for the holy name. Gaurashaya Vigrahaya Krishna Kamaikacharine Rupanuga Pravaraya Vinodeti Sarupine. He is the personification of one who has taken complete shelter, ashray, of Sri Gaur, and he is solely committed to satisfying the loving desires, the kam of Śrī Kṛṣṇa. He is the foremost follower of Srila Rupa Goswami, and by his constitutional identity, his sarup, he is the pleasure, the vinod of Śrī Radha Krishna. And there's a footnote here. In Śrī Kṛṣṇa Lila, Śrī Srimad Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaja's eternal identity is Śrī Vinod Manjari. So there's a double meaning there. Vinod Deti Sarupine means he is the pleasure of Śrī Radha Krishna, and also his form is Vinod Manjari. Prabhupadantarangaya sarva sarguna shaline maya varatamo vedantarta vide namaha. He is the intimate associate of Srila Prabhupada, and he is endowed with all auspicious qualities. He devours the dark ignorance of impersonalism by his knowledge of the true meaning of Vedanta. I offer my obeisances to him. Now this is the pranam mantra to Sanatana Goswami. Vairaga yug bhakti rasam prayatnar apayayan mam anabhipsumandham kripam buddhirya paradukha dukhi sanatanastvam prabhumashrayami. That should be an S, that's a mistake there. Due to being blinded by ignorance, I was unwilling to drink bhakti ras, the nectar of devotion imbued with intense attachment for Śrī Kṛṣṇa, and the consequent detachment from worldly existence. But Srila Sanatana Goswami, with great effort, induced me to drink it because he is an ocean of causeless mercy and cannot tolerate seeing the suffering of others. I therefore take complete shelter of him. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratishe Namaha. I offer my humble obeisances to that supremely magnanimous personality, Śrī Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya. He is the original form of Śrī Kṛṣṇa, but now, as Śrī Gaur-Sundar, he has assumed the golden complexion of Srimati Radhika, and he is freely distributing Śrī Kṛṣṇa Prem. I bowed to him. So now my Gurudev finishes his Mangalacharan. Let me just drink some water. 1 second. I offer prostrated obeisances again and again at the lotus feet of my Shri Gurudev, Ashtottara Shata Shri Srimad Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, who is an ocean of causeless mercy. I offer my obeisances to I offer my prostrated obeisances to the acharyas of the Shri Guru Parampara, and especially to Jagat Guru Srila Sanatana Goswami Pad, who is very distressed by the sorrow of others, as well as to the greatly magnanimous Sri Saccidānanda Gaur Hari, who is imbued with the mood and complexion of Srimati Radhika. After begging for their mercy, I am now presenting the Bhav Anuvad of Srila Sanatana Goswami's Dig-darśinī commentary on Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam. So Bhav Anuvad means translation, and a Bhav Anuvad means that he's translating the essence. He's, what Srila Sanatana Goswami is expressing, he goes into the bhav of it. And so that means that sometimes there'll be a little bit more added in just to bring out what Srila Sanatana Goswami is saying. It's the meaning of a bhav anuvad. Shiradi sahitam natva dig-darśinī-ṭīkā bhav anuvad. Shirada sahitam natva Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam Dāmodarāṣṭaka vyākya digesha darshate dhunam. After offering obeisances to the Supreme Controller, Śrī Damodar, accompanied by Śrī Radha, this explanation of Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam, known as the Dig-darśinī, the insight that guides us toward the inner meaning, is herewith presented. With the intention of making his prayer, Śrī Satyavrat Muni first offers his devoted obeisances to Bhagavan Śrī Kṛṣṇa with the word namāmi, which invokes auspiciousness. He offers his obeisances by extolling Śrī Kṛṣṇa's supremacy through descriptions pertaining to the speciality of his tattva, profound fundamental truths related to him, to his form, his pastimes, and his qualities. Thus, Śrī Satyavrata Muni declares the unique supremacy manifested by Śrī Kṛṣṇa in Gokula. He declares this to be the very essence and entirety of Godhead. It is vital to offer respects to one's worshipful deity before beginning any task. Also, by this gesture, Śrī Satyavrat Muni exhibits his special feeling of dasya bhakti, devotion to Śrī Bhagavan in the mood of a servant. For this reason, he begins his prayer by offering his obeisances to the Supreme Lord. Everything that you see in square brackets is an insertion from the editor, or sometimes, I think sometimes also it's what was included in this Bengali edition of Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam by my Param Gurudev, I think. But anyways, yeah. The commentator, Srila Sanatana Goswami, first discusses the profound fundamental truths underlying the identity of Śrī Bhagavan, Krishna Tattva. Herein, he relates Śrī Satyavrat Muni's thoughts. And let me just check that, actually. I'm really curious about the square brackets. I'm just looking at the Bengali. Well, there are words in square brackets here. But no, I don't. Yeah. Okay. To whom am I offering obeisances? To Ishvar, the Supreme Controller. He is one, Sarva-Shaktiman, the possessor of all potency. 2. Jagat Ekanath, the sole Lord of the entire world. And 3. Nija Prabhu, my own dear master. I am offering my obeisances to that Ishvar. Okay, so that's Ishvar. Ishvar is Sarva-Shaktiman, Jagat Ekanath, and Nija Prabhu. And the first facet of Ishvar, Sarva-Shaktiman, the possessor of all potency, Śrī Satyavrat Muni seeks the potency to offer prayers in glorification of Śrī Bhagavan, the Supreme Lord. The second facet, Jagat Ekanath, the sole Lord of the entire world, conveys that Ishvar alone is his topmost worshipful and praiseworthy Lord. Finally, in relation to the last facet of Ishvar, Nija Prabhu, that he is my own dear master, Śrī Satyavrat Muni expresses his own special bhakti for his Lord. How is Ishvar manifest? Addressing this question, Śrī Satyavrat Muni says, Ishvar is manifest as the beautiful form of concentrated pure, eternal existence, full knowledge, and unlimited bliss, saccidānanda-rūpaṁ. Thus the sage has explained the unrivaled supremacy of Śrī Kṛṣṇa, the object of his prayers, by narrating the special, profound, fundamental truths, the tattva, underlying his identity. Now the commentator discusses Śrī Bhagavan's beautiful form, saccidānanda-rūpaṁ. So we went through namāmīśvaraṁ and now saccidānanda-rūpaṁ. Śrī Satyavrat Muni shows the exceptional supremacy of Śrī Kṛṣṇa by describing the unique beauty of his form. He describes how his earrings are swinging, lasat-kuṇḍalaṁ. Because he is running away from his mother, Śrī Yaśodā, out of fear, or else because it is his nature to always make transcendental childish mischief due to his unceasing restlessness. Makara-shaped earrings constantly swing near his cheeks and seem to be playing there. In this way, the sage describes the speciality of the extraordinary splendor of Śrī Kṛṣṇa's worshipful face. Oh, and just letting you know, if I go online, because these days the power's been going out in the morning and I'm connected to a Wi-Fi connection. So if the power goes out, just wait a couple minutes and I'll be right back on my phone. Just letting you know. Okay. Yet another meaning of lasat-kuṇḍalaṁ is those two makara-shaped earrings have achieved the celebrated fortune of kissing Śrī Kṛṣṇa's cheeks and are therefore the most exalted of all his ornaments. Consequently, simply by mentioning Śrī Kṛṣṇa's earrings, the special fortune of all other ornaments adorning his various limbs is implied. For this reason, Śrī Satyavrat Muni is indicating, I am offering obeisances to that personality whose bodily luster beautifies his earrings. In other words, Śrī Kṛṣṇa's limbs even beautify their own ornaments. For this reason, the gopis have said, Trailokyam sobhagam idam chaniriksha-rūpaṁ yadko dvija-druma-mrga pulakanya-bhibhran. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:29-40. Dear Krishna, as a result of beholding your beautiful form, which has enhanced the fortune of the three worlds, even the bodies of the cows, birds, trees, deers, and others have erupted with horripilation. Is it at all surprising, then, if your beautiful form bewilders us? Also, while Sri Uddhava was describing Śrī Kṛṣṇa's beautiful form to Vidura, he said, Vismapanam swasya chaso bagarde param padam bhushana bhushanangam. That's from Srimad Bhagavatam 3:2-12. Śrī Kṛṣṇa's form is so captivating that even he is astonished when he sees himself. His beautiful form embodies the topmost limit of exceedingly good fortune and opulence. Indeed, ornaments usually beautify the person wearing them, but Śrī Kṛṣṇa's form is so beautiful that he actually increases the beauty of his ornaments. In other words, compared to all other divine forms in existence, the beauty of his form is supremely divine. Next, Śrī Satyavrat Muni shows the extraordinary excellence of Śrī Kṛṣṇa by describing his special associates present with him in Gokul. He says, Gokule bhrāja-mānam. How splendid it is when Śrī Kṛṣṇa is in Gokul, gokule, the home of his gopas, gopis, cows, calves, and others. In this place, which is particularly befitting, he manifests the exceptional supremacy, the bhrāja-mānam, of his pastimes, which he has never manifested anywhere else in any of the pastimes performed by his previous incarnations. Another meaning is that the outstanding environment of Gokul is effulgent with the mood of natural love, so when Śrī Kṛṣṇa is situated there, he is certainly most splendid, bhrāja-mānam. This is also described in various places in Shastra. In the 10th canto of Śrīmad Bhagavatam, it is described as follows. Chakasha gopi parishad gator chitas trailokya lakshmeka padam vapur dadhat. Śrīmad Bhagavatam 10:32-14. Śrī Kṛṣṇa, for whom perfected mystic yogis prepare a seat in their purified lotus-like hearts, appeared as the reservoir of all beauty, unequaled within the three worlds. He accepted the seat offered by the gopis and was worshipped by them. When he sat in their midst, he appeared even more splendorous. So Krishna manifests himself according to his devotee. So even though Śrī Kṛṣṇa was so beautiful, he appeared even more splendorous when he was in the midst of the gopis. Now, in the remainder of this line, beginning with Yaśodā, as well as in the whole next verse, Śrī Satyavrat Muni affirms the unparalleled excellence of his worshipful Lord by describing his extraordinary pastimes. Due to its surrounding context, Yaśodaya means from his mother, Śrī Yaśodā. The meaning of bhiyā is that Śrī Kṛṣṇa feared being punished for breaking the earthen pot of butter, as well as raiding its contents and making other types of mischief. A pot of butter had been hung from the ceiling, high above the ground for protection, but Krishna had climbed upon an overturned grinding mortar and was stealing butter from it. The meaning of vṛtti is, when he saw his mother coming with a stick in her hand, he immediately leapt from the grinding mortar, and dhāvamānaṁ, he ran away very quickly. The 9th chapter of Śrīmad Bhagavatam's 10th canto contains a detailed narration of this pastime. It is recommended that one reflect upon it. Ulukhalangrer upari vyavastita markaya kamam dadatam shichistitam hayangavan chora vishankite kshanam niriksha paschat sutamagamachanai. Śrīmad Bhagavatam 10:9-8. After climbing on top of the overturned grinding mortar, Śrī Kṛṣṇa began feeding the monkeys to his great satisfaction, giving them butter from a pot that had been hung from the ceiling in order to protect it. Because he was stealing, he was anxiously looking here and there. Seeing him like this, Mother Yaśodā slowly approached him from behind. Tam atyaṁ prasamiksha satvaras tato varuhya pasasara-bhitavat gopyan vadavan nayam apayoginam kshamam praveshtum tapaseritam mana. Śrīmad Bhagavatam 10:9-9. It's the next verse. As soon as Śrī Kṛṣṇa saw his mother with a stick in her hand, he hastily jumped from the grinding mortar and began running away, as if totally overcome by fear. Great mystics whose hearts have been completely purified by performing austerities are qualified to merge with Brahma, yet they fail to catch Śrī Kṛṣṇa. On the other hand, considering him to be her little child, Yaśodā Devi ran after that same Krishna in order to catch him. Seeing her son fleeing after being caught making mischief, Mother Yaśodā ran after him.
she ran much faster than he did and seized him from behind. By describing that she ran much faster than Śrī Kṛṣṇa with the words atyaṁ tato drutya, Śrī Satyavrata Muni alludes to the exceptional beauty of Śrī Mother Yaśoda's breasts, her hips, and full-figured body, and it also indicates her special affection for her son. The use of the loving address gopyā instead of Yaśodaya signifies that only those who are born in the cowherd families have the great fortune of seeing these pastimes. Drutya gopyā. Furthermore, by saying parāmṛṣṭam, that she caught him from behind, Śrī Satyavrata Muni indicates Śrī Kṛṣṇa's special affection for Mother Yaśodā. In other words, he is declaring that Śrī Kṛṣṇa is Bhakta Vatsal. He has particular affection for his devotees. Here also, it is beneficial to carefully study the following verse from the 10th canto of Śrīmad Bhagavatam. Anvanchamana janani brihachala Churoni bharakranta gati sumadhyama Javena vistrangshita kesha bandhana Achyuta prasunanugati parāmṛṣṭam. Śrīmad Bhagavatam 10:9-10. That's the next verse after the previous one. As slender-waisted Yaśodā chased Śrī Kṛṣṇa, her pace was slowed down by the weight of her large swaying hips. As she ran after him, her hair loosened, and the flowers that were woven into her braid fell to the ground, as if following behind her. Despite all of this, she continued to chase Krishna, and at last she caught hold of him from behind. Thus ends the English rendition of the Dig-darśinī-ṭīkā on the first verse. Now we begin the Dig-darśinī-vṛtti, the supplementary commentary of Srila Sanatana Goswami's commentary by my Srila Gurudev. So Sanatana Goswami's commentary is a Dig-darśinī-ṭīkā, and my Gurudev's commentary is a Dig-darśinī-vṛtti. Okay. In order to glorify his worshipful Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa and hopeful of attaining his most cherished desire, Śrī Satyavrata Muni starts his prayer with a mangala-charan, an auspicious invocation, beginning with the word namāmi. Invocations of auspiciousness are of three types: those which offer respects, those which point out the subject being discussed, and those which grant a benediction. What is it? I think one is called namaskaratmik or something, and then vastu nirdeshatmika, and I forgot what they're called. Ashirvadatmika. I think that's what it is. Those three. Here the sage invokes auspiciousness by first offering his respects through the word namāmi, and then continues his mangala-charan by indicating the subject being discussed. Ishvar. Śrī Kṛṣṇa is the original Lord, the Ishvar of all lords. Srila Shukadeva Goswami provides the evidence for this in Śrīmad Bhagavatam. Ete chanksa kala pungsam Krishnastu bhagavan svayam indrari vyakulam lokam mriddayanti yuge yuge. Śrīmad Bhagavatam 1.3.28. Among the incarnations described in the preceding verses, some are expansions of the Purush avatar Karanarnava Shai Mahavishnu, and some are Avesh avatars. All of these incarnations descend in each age to protect the world when it is tormented by the demons. However, Rajendranandan Śrī Kṛṣṇa, the son of the king of Raj, is Swayam Bhagavan, the only form of Bhagavan with no source other than himself. He is the original primeval personality, and Mahavishnu is his expansion. Sri Brahma, the original guru of our four sampradayas, states, the original guru for our sampradaya states in his prayers, Ishvara Parama Krishna Saccidānanda-Vigraha Anadiradir Govinda Sarvakarana-karanam. Śrī Brahma Samhita, first verse. Śrī Kṛṣṇa is the supreme Lord and master of all other lords, and he is the embodiment of pure eternal existence, full knowledge, and unlimited bliss. He is the primeval Lord, Govinda, for he has no beginning or origin. As he himself is the source of everything, including all the incarnations of Vishnu and all his empowered servitors. He is the ultimate cause of all consequent causes. Śrī Kṛṣṇa is the Lord of the masters of creation who are worshipped by the whole world, and he is the origin of all incarnations. However, in Vraj, he offers respects to his father Nanda Baba, to Mother Yaśodā, and to his other elders. He becomes blissful when he loses the games he plays with his friends, and when he eats their remnants and feeds them his own. Even when he is defeated again and again in the assembly of the gopis, he considers it his great fortune. It was because of his own desire to obtain the pleasing association of the beautiful damsels of Vraj that he called them at the time of Ras Lila. They did not call him. This Śrī Kṛṣṇa is saccidānanda. He is pure eternal existence, full knowledge, and unlimited bliss. Sat means existence. Śrī Kṛṣṇa's inherent nature is that he exists as a fresh youth who is the best of dancers. His extremely charming form as a tender youth is even more attractive than Dwarkadish, the form of Śrī Kṛṣṇa when he resides in Dwarka. It is only because Śrī Kṛṣṇa's original form, Vrajendranandan, exists that all other lords, as well as this whole world, have their existence. Chit means that knowledge which manifests all relationships, sambandha, and permanent spiritual emotions, bhav. That's the meaning of chit. So sat was existence, now chit is this knowledge of relationships and emotions. As bhav condenses, it gradually passes through the progressive stages of prem, sneha, man, pranay, rag, anurag, and bhav, and finally transforms into Mahabhav. Mahabhav is Śrī Radha herself. She is therefore known as Mahabhav Swarupini, the embodiment of Mahabhav. When the three components, pure eternal existence, sat, full knowledge, chit, and unlimited bliss, ananda, are manifest in one combined form, then the identity of that form is Śrī Radha Kanta, the basis and entirety of Sat, Chit, and Ananda, and the beloved of Srimati Radhika. This very entity is himself the sublimely pure existential substance, Vishuddha Sattva. Śrī Kṛṣṇa is the object, the Vishai of all rasas, all loving sentiments, and his devotees, the Ashray, are the abodes of love for him. As the object of love, he cannot comprehend the topmost transformations exhibited by his devotees, the abodes of love for him, when they experience their various moods such as Rudha and Adiruddha. Therefore, Śrī Kṛṣṇa accepts the form of Śrī Sachinandan Gaur Hari and becomes radiant with the mood and bodily complexion of Śrī Radha, the supreme abode of love for Krishna. In that form, he fulfills his three longings. What are those three longings? Let's see the footnote. Śrī Kṛṣṇa's three longings are described by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in Śrī Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila 1.7. Desiring to know the glory of Radharani's love for him, what it is in him that makes her maddened with love, and the nature of the pleasure she experiences by loving him, Bhagavan Śrī Hari, fully resplendent with her emotions, appeared from Srimati Shachi Devi's womb, just as the moon appeared from the ocean. In many places throughout Srimad Bhagavatam, the sweetness of Śrī Kṛṣṇa's beautiful form, his roop, has been described. However, among all of them, three specific descriptions are extraordinarily wonderful and touch the heart. The first description was spoken by Sri Brahma, the grandfather of the universe. No mirdate bravapushe tadirambaraya gunjavatang saparipicha lasan mukhaya vanyas raje kavala vetra vishana veno Lakshma Shriye Mridupade Pashupangajaya. That's Srimad Bhagavatam 10.14.1. O Master, in the entire universe, only you are worthy of being praised. O Vrajendranandan, son of the king of Vraj, your body, appearing like a fresh rain cloud, is adorned with a yellow cloth that glistens like lightning and appears amazingly brilliant. Because you are wearing makara-shaped earrings and a peacock feather on your head, your lotus face radiates an uncommon splendor. Around your neck is a garland made of innumerable kinds of forest flowers and leaves. Tucked under your arm are a cane and a buffalo horn. Your flute, which is tied by your waist belt, looks very beautiful. In your lovely, soft hands is a morsel of yogurt and rice. Even you are attracted by this cowherd boy attire of yours. I simply fall to the ground like a stick again and again at your feet, which are softer than lotuses, and which are marked with all the auspicious signs. The second description was spoken by the wives of the Brahmins of Mathura. Shamam hiranya pariding vanamalya barha dhatu pravala nata vesham anavratangse vinyasta hastam itarena dunam namabjam karnot palala kakapola mukhabjahasam. That's from Srimad Bhagavatam 10.23.22. His complexion was dark bluish like a fresh monsoon rain cloud, and the glistening yellow cloth that was draped on his shoulders subdued the splendor of gold. There was a garland of forest flowers around his neck, and a beautiful peacock feather splendidly adorned his head. Playful designs were painted on his limbs with colored minerals, and he had decorated himself with bunches of newly sprouted leaves. He looked just like a dramatic dancer. He was resting one hand on the shoulder of his friends. With the other hand, he was playfully twirling a lotus flower. Ornaments decorated his ears, and curls of black hair were cascading down his cheeks as his lotus face blossomed with a mild, playful smile. The third description is found in Venu Geet, when the gopis sang about Śrī Kṛṣṇa's flute. So the third description found in Venu Geet was spoken by Srila Shukadeva Goswami. Here, he is describing the sweetness of Śrī Kṛṣṇa's beautiful form as revealed in the hearts of the Vraja gopis. Parhapiram natavara-vapu karnayo karnikaram bibrarvasa kanakapisham vajayantim chamalam randran venor adarasudaya purayan gopavrender vrindaranyam swapadaramanam pravishar gita kirti. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.21.5. Within their hearts, the damsels of Vraj began to see that Śrī Kṛṣṇa entered the charming forest of Vrindavan, accompanied by his cowherd boyfriends. A peacock feather decorated the top of his head, and yellow Karika, oleander flowers, were resting on top of his ears. He wore a golden yellow garment on his body, and a beautiful, fragrant garland strung from 5 kinds of forest flowers that circled his neck and hung down to his knees. Śrī Kṛṣṇa appeared like the best of dancers, performing a supremely captivating drama upon a stage. He filled up the holes of his flute with the nectar of his lips, as the cowherd boys followed behind him, singing his glories, which purified the entire world. In this way, the forest of Vrindavan, which is more charming than the divine realm of Vaikuntha, has become even more splendid from the impressions of his adorable lotus feet, which are marked with all the auspicious symbols, like the conch and the disc. There is yet another description of his beauty within the 5 chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam that recount Ras Lila. The gopis, allured by the bewildering potency of Śrī Kṛṣṇa's flute song, left their homes in the middle of the night and went to Śrī Kṛṣṇa. Yet, when they came before him, he teased them and told them to return to their homes. At that time, the gopis described the sweetness of Śrī Kṛṣṇa's beautiful form. Kastrangyate kalapadayata venugita samohitarya charitana chale trilokyam trilokyam so bhagamidam chaniriksharupam yargo dvijadrumamarga pulakanya bibran. That's Srimad Bhagavatam 10:29-40. O Shri Shyam Sundar, from your flute come the most endearing, slowly rolling melodies. Your beautiful form brings auspiciousness upon the entire universe. Moreover, upon seeing your beautiful form, even the bodies of the cows, birds, trees, and deer erupt with horripilation. After hearing the sweet melodies from your flute and beholding your captivating form, is there any woman in all the three worlds who would not become attached to you, and leaving aside all proper conduct and shyness, deviate from her religious principles? Upon hearing the sound of Śrī Kṛṣṇa's flute, the gopis of Vraj forgot everything, their fear, their hesitation, their patience, dignity, and so forth. Regardless of the condition they were in, they eagerly ran to meet Śrī Kṛṣṇa. Without even calling their dearmost girlfriends, the pran-priya-sakis, they ran to him. Each gopi thought, Śrī Kṛṣṇa is calling only me. When Śrī Kṛṣṇa saw that the gopis, who were the incomparable treasures of Vraj, had come to him, he tried to bewilder them with his delightful art of speaking. He said, "O beautiful cowherd girls, why have you come here alone at this time of night? Have you come to see nature's splendor and the beauty of this forest? If so, then return to your homes now. The duty of a lady of noble descent is to serve her husband, her father, her brothers, and friends. Even if her husband is bad-natured, unfortunate, foolish, old, diseased, or poor, her duty is to serve him. Go back to your homes." This is from Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 29, verses 19, 21-22, and 24-25. Hearing these unpleasant words from their dearmost beloved, the gopis became morose and pained at heart. They answered, "Dear Shyam Sundar, your advice is correct, but by instructing us, you have become our guru, and one should first serve one's guru. Now please accept our service. Till this moment, our hearts were absorbed in household duties, but now you have stolen our hearts. How will we return to our homes?" This is from Srimad Bhagavatam, same chapter, verse 31, 32, and 34. When Śrī Kṛṣṇa was concluding his manifest pastimes, he called upon Śrī Uddhav and told him, "Soon I will leave you behind in this world to propagate Bhagavat Dharma." After Śrī Kṛṣṇa actually disappeared from this world, Śrī Uddhav set out for Vraj, overwhelmed by separation from him. On the way, he met Śrī Vidura and told him that Śrī Kṛṣṇa had concluded his pastimes. In that context, Śrī Uddhav described Śrī Kṛṣṇa's beautiful form as follows. Yanmartyalilo paikam sayoga maya balam darshayata grihitam vismapanam svasya chaso bhagarde parang padang bhushana bhushanangam. Srimad Bhagavatam 3:2-12. By the power of his internal potency of Yoga Maya, Śrī Kṛṣṇa exhibited his original eternal form within this mortal sphere, a form which is perfectly suited for his human-like pastimes, a form so captivating that even he is astonished when he sees himself. His beautiful form is the embodiment of the topmost limit of exceedingly good fortune and opulence. Indeed, ornaments usually beautify the person who wears them, but Krishna's form is so beautiful that he actually beautifies his ornaments. In other words, compared to all other divine forms in existence, the beauty of his form is supremely divine. Furthermore, when Śrī Kṛṣṇa disappeared from the gopis at the time of the Ras Lila, the gopis sang about their separation from him in deep lamentation. Hearing that kirtan, Śrī Kṛṣṇa, unable to restrain himself, again appeared in their midst. Srila Shukadeva Goswami describes his beauty at that time. Tasam avira buchchori smayamana mukham bhuja pitambara-dāraṣṭakam sragri shakshan manmata manmata. That's a mistake. That shouldn't say strangri. It's... Anyways, I don't think so, at least. Anyways. When Śrī Kṛṣṇa appeared before... Oh, that's from Srimad Bhagavatam 10:32-2. Right after the Gopi Gita. When Śrī Kṛṣṇa appeared before the gopis, his lotus face blossomed with a mild smile. A beautiful forest flower garlands decorated his neck and chest, and a yellow cloth graced his shoulders. He even turns the mind of the God of love, who agitates the minds of all, for he is directly the original transcendental God of love. Shakshan manmata manmata. So he says, Pitambara Dara. At first, Krishna was clasping the yellow cloth he wore as an upper garment between his hands. The import of this is as follows. When Śrī Kṛṣṇa saw the gopis' moods of separation from him, he wiped away their tears with his yellow cloth. He realized that he had given so much trouble to his dear beloveds, and thus he considered himself an offender. Begging pardon for his offense, he then placed part of his yellow garment between his teeth as though biting a piece of straw, a sign of great humility. The appearance of his beautiful form at that time was capable of agitating the minds of millions and millions of cupids. When Srila Shukadeva Goswami spoke this verse, he became absorbed in the moods of the gopis. In that state, forgetful of himself, he became perturbed and addressed Śrī Kṛṣṇa as Shori. By calling Krishna Shori in the mood of an irritated gopi, Srila Shukadeva Goswami was saying, "You are cruel like a warrior. You are not from the soft-hearted cowherd dynasty. Otherwise, you would not have left all of us." When Śrī Kṛṣṇa, manifesting all the splendor of his incomparable form, when he appeared in the assembly of the gopis, they became completely overwhelmed with love for him. The love that Śrī Bhagavan's associates have for him within their hearts determines how much his immaculate beauty is revealed. This is an important point. The love that Śrī Bhagavan, in proportion to the love of his associates, Śrī Kṛṣṇa manifests his immaculate beauty to that extent. Śrī Bhagavan manifests his personal sweetness according to the greatness of his associates' love for him. Srila Shukadeva Goswami further clarifies this. Chakasa gopi parishad gator chitus trailokya lakshmeka padam vapur dadat. Srimad Bhagavatam 10:32-14. As Bhagavan Śrī Kṛṣṇa sat among thousands upon thousands of gopis who were all worshipping him, he appeared so splendid. All the beauty throughout the three worlds, all the beauty ever manifest in the past, and all the beauty manifest now, and in all the beauty that will ever manifest in the future, is only the dim glow from a drop of Śrī Bhagavan's own beauty. He alone is the abode of all beauty. Śrī Narayan is also beautiful. Attracted by his beautiful form, Lakshmi remains engaged in the service of his worshipful feet day and night. However, as soon as she remembers the sweetness of Śrī Kṛṣṇa within her heart, she longs to see his sweet form directly and resolves, "Since I cannot obtain entrance into Ras Lila, I will watch it from a distance." What is the reason for this eagerness? It has been said that the incomparable form that Śrī Kṛṣṇa manifested within the Ras Lila in the assembly of the gopis was never exhibited anywhere else. What is that form like? His form churns the minds of even Cupid, who agitates the minds of all, for he is directly the original transcendental Cupid. In the first verse of Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam, Śrī Satyavrat Muni describes the very same enchanting form of Śrī Kṛṣṇa as a 2.5-year-old baby running away from Mother Yaśodā. As he fled from his mother, he repeatedly looked behind him with terrified glances. His earrings shimmered on his cheeks, and his neck was decorated by 3 graceful lines. Other than the auspicious gold cord around his waist and the pair of ankle bells clasping his worshipful lotus feet, resonating with unsurpassed charm, his tiny form was completely naked. The conclusion that the manifestation of Śrī Kṛṣṇa's beauty is relative to his devotees' love for him is also established by Srila Sanatana Goswami in his Sri Brihad-bhagavatamrita. The unique qualities of Sri Bhagavan's beauty manifest in accordance with the unique qualities of his associates. In order to bestow his mercy upon the souls who are indifferent to him, and to bless them with Vraja-prem, the love exhibited by the eternal inhabitants of Vraj, Śrī Kṛṣṇa manifested his beautiful form as a fresh youth, the best of dancers, dressed as a cowherd boy holding a flute in his hands. This very form of Śrī Kṛṣṇa is the origin and basis of all his forms in Mathura and Dwarka, and is also the source of all other avatars. Even though the main subject of Srila Sanatana Goswami's commentary on this verse is Śrī Kṛṣṇa's childhood pastimes, he has quoted a description of Śrī Kṛṣṇa's beautiful form exhibited at the time of Ras Lila in order to convey the extraordinary glory of that particular form. In chapter 9 of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a description of Śrī Damodar Lila. Many gopis constantly complained to Śrī Yaśodā, "Your son steals from our houses and eats our butter. Oh Yaśodā, worse than that, he throws milk, yogurt, and butter everywhere. If he actually ate it, it would be all right, but he doesn't. He smashes our pots of milk and yogurt and unties the calves. How can we tolerate this daily loss of milk and yogurt any longer? We have all decided to leave your settlement of Vraj and live elsewhere." Mother Yaśodā heard these complaints every day. She began to wonder, could it be that my darling boy finds the butter that comes from his own home not tasty? Is it sour? Is that why he doesn't eat it, but instead sneaks into the homes of other gopis to steal their butter? If that is the case, then today I will prepare sweet butter for my dear son with my own hands. He will surely eat that and not go to others' houses to steal their butter. It was the festival of Deepavali, so she... Haribo, what happened? Oh, my headphones ran out of battery. Okay, no problem. So, 1 second, let me just charge it. Whatever, I don't need it. So, it was the festival of Deepavali, and so she gave leave to all her servants and maidservants. She personally milked Mangala, Ganga, Pishangi, and other cows, and then boiled the milk until it started condensing. When it was the right warmth, she added yogurt culture to it, and then, in the early morning, she personally set to churning the freshly cultured yogurt. As she was churning, she became completely immersed in love for her darling son and began to sing. As the churning rod rotated back and forth, it made a deep reverberating sound, dik, like the large drumhead of a mridanga, and also a tapping sound, tan, like the small drumhead. Thus, the full sound was dik-tan, dik-tan. The meaning implied is that any soul who does not worship, The meaning implied is that any soul who does not worship and remember Śrī Radha Krishna leads a life that is so dull that he is not better than an animal. Such a soul is condemned, diktan. As she turned, the ringing of her bangles sounded like the ringing of kartals. I have kartals right here. So as she turned, the ringing of her bells sounded like the ringing of kartals. lost in thoughts of her darling son, she started to sing. In his stotram, Śrī Bilvamangal Thakur has also described how Mother Yaśodā began to sing in this pastime. Kvachit prabhate dadipurna patre nikshipya mantam yuvati mukundam alokya ganam vividham karoti Govinda Damodarāṣṭakam. Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam, verse 19. Once at dawn, as Yaśodā Devi was about to place the churning rod in a pot of yogurt, she gazed upon her child Mukunda. And there's a footnote here. What does it say? It is to be noted that there is a slight variation in Śrī Bilvamangal Thakur's description of this pastime because of his personal realization. Okay. So, once at dawn, as Yaśodā Devi was about to place a churning rod in a pot of yogurt, she gazed upon her child Mukunda. At once, she became overwhelmed with love and sang this wonderful song, "Oh, my Govinda, my Damodar, oh, my dear Madhav." Śrī Kṛṣṇa, the darling son of Mother Yaśodā, forever begs parental love from his mother. Mother Yaśodā was completely absorbed in the moods of her song and was brimming with affection for Krishna. When he heard her singing, her voice saturated with love for him, he could not restrain himself. He began to think, "Every day, Mother sings little songs with great tenderness to awaken me, but today she has not come, and I am so hungry." The Supreme Lord of everything, who is independently blissful and self-satisfied, Atmaram and Aptakam, was hungry. He began to cry loudly for his mother's breast milk. "My dear Lord, how glorious you are!" On this day, the effect of Śrī Kṛṣṇa's crying remained unknown to anyone. It simply merged into the fathomless ocean of Mother Yaśoda's parental affection, for she was so absorbed in her sankirtan that she was unable to hear him. With great difficulty, Kanhaiya, who was lying on his belly, moved little by little to the edge of his bed and then got down. Rubbing his eyes and crying, he somehow made it to where his mother was churning, tottering like an intoxicated elephant along the way. He caught hold of the churning rod and stopped it from twirling. Krishna must have been really strong, huh? Mother Yaśoda's absorption broke. Seeing her darling son at her side, she immediately sat him on her lap and began breastfeeding him. Just by seeing her dear Krishna, her limbs became decorated by all the ashtasattvic bhavs, the 8 types of bodily transformations arising from ecstatic love of God. Furthermore, the special emotion of motherly affection manifested, namely, milk began to flow from her breasts. According to Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, baby Krishna is the Vishaya Alambana of Vatsalya Ras. That is, he is the object upon which motherly love depends. The Vishaya Alambana, the object upon which motherly love depends. His mother, Śrī Yaśodā, is the Ashraya Alambana, or the reservoir of love for him. Baby Krishna's gorgeous face is the Udipan, or the stimulus that arouses motherly love. And Mother Yaśoda's tears, the standing on end of her bodily hairs, the flowing of milk from her breasts, and so on, are the sattvika bhavs, or transformations of ecstasy in her body. All of these ingredients of love, namely vibhav means the Vishaya Lambana, Ashraya Lambana, and Udipan, which we just read about, Anubhav, which is deep emotions that are realized through outward expressions on the body, and so forth, then combines with Mother Yaśoda's own Sthāyi Bhav, namely Vatsalya Rati, and began to make her relish Vatsalya Ras. That was like a brief synopsis of all of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Suddenly, the milk started boiling over as if it were thinking. Mother Yaśoda's breasts are the source of all the milk contained within all the universes. Her supply of breast milk is inexhaustible, and the stomach of baby Kanhaiya is not at all small. All the universes can fit inside it. she will never tire of breastfeeding him, and he can drink forever. In that case, I will always remain bereft of the opportunity to serve Śrī Kṛṣṇa. Therefore, it is pointless to maintain my worthless life, a life devoid of service. Thinking like this, the milk began to sacrifice himself into the fire. Notice how everything in Vraj is conscious. They all have feelings and moods and Sharanagati. So practicing devotees, sadhaks, should also have this type of anxiousness like the milk. They should think, if while performing bhajan, we do not gain even a glimpse of Sri Bhagavan or realize the mercy of his pastimes and divine abode, then our lives are worthless. Deprived of seeing Sri Gaur Sundar and his associates, Sri Narottam Das Thakur says, Pashane kutibo mata anale poshibo Gauranga gunera nidhi kota gele pavo. That's from Prarthana, Song 41. I shall dash my head upon a stone or enter into a blazing fire. Where will I find that treasure house of all wonderful qualities, Sri Gauranga? In this regard, it is important to carefully deliberate on Srila Rupa Goswami's definition of Uttama Bhakti, or pure devotion. Sing this with me. This is such an important verse. Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadana vritam anukulena krishnano shilanam bhaktiruttamam. It's from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1:1-11. When bhakti is performed without any other desire than the aspiration to bring happiness to Krishna, when it is not covered by the endeavor to accumulate dry knowledge, result-oriented work, or any other practice for attaining a goal unrelated to him, and when it is cultivated solely with a favorable disposition towards him and for his benefit, then it is Uttama Bhakti, supremely pure devotion. In this verse, the characteristics which describe bhakti are divided into two categories, Swarup Lakshan and Tatastha Lakshan. The first category, Swarup Lakshan, includes the intrinsic qualities of bhakti. The second category, Tatastha Lakshan, includes the marginal qualities of bhakti. And there's a footnote here. The intrinsic qualities describe the direct nature of Uttama Bhakti, while the marginal qualities describe what must be avoided for the intrinsic qualities to qualify as Uttama Bhakti. What bhakti is and what bhakti isn't. All right. To communicate how our bhakti can be perfected, the modifier anukulyena, with a favorable disposition, has been used because one cannot perform bhakti with an unfavorable disposition. That is to say, one who acts in opposition to Śrī Kṛṣṇa cannot be performing bhakti. Certain exalted realized personalities have stated that anukulyena means the tendency to perform activities that bring pleasure to Śrī Kṛṣṇa, and so they say that activities to bring pleasure to Śrī Kṛṣṇa, and that the inclination to please him with a favorable disposition is bhakti. But, however, if this latter definition is accepted, one of two faults may arise. So if we say that bhakti is performed for Krishna's pleasure, then two faults may arise. Some things are encompassed by this definition which should not be included within the description of bhakti. It includes too much. This is called ati vyapti dosh, the fault of overextending the definition. Similarly, it excludes things that should be included within the description. This is called avyapti dosh, the fault of underextending the definition. So this is all why we can't say that bhakti is just for pleasing Krishna. So the first example, what is it? Ati vyapti dosh, overextending a definition, including too much within the definition, is this example. In the wrestling match, Chanura, Mushtika, and other demons were striking Śrī Kṛṣṇa's limbs. Śrī Kṛṣṇa was certainly enlivened by their attack and began to relish the mood of being a great hero, Viraras. How can the attacks of the demons be understood as pleasurable for Krishna? The answer to this is found in a part of a verse from Śrīmad Bhagavatam 1.13.30. Manasvinam iva sat samprahara. Although in the eyes of ordinary people a terrifying battle with an enemy seems torturous, it is in fact exhilarating for the fighters. In that case, if we conclude that the demons' horrible attacks during the wrestling match were acts of bhakti because they gave pleasure to Śrī Kṛṣṇa, then the fault of ati-vyapti, overextension of the definition, arises. Even though these malevolent endeavors caused Śrī Kṛṣṇa to feel pleasure, which is apparently the quality of bhakti, they were actually strictly opposed to bhakti. Conversely, consider the example of Mother Yaśodā. Okay, so now we're going to see a vyapti dosh, which is the fault of underextending the definition, not including enough in the definition. If we say that bhakti pleases Krishna, then we will be excluding Mother Yaśodā within the definition of bhakti. So, conversely, consider the example of Mother Yaśodā breastfeeding Śrī Kṛṣṇa as he lay on her lap. At the same time, the milk she had kept on the stove was boiling over into the fire. After taking Krishna, who is not yet satisfied, off her lap, she went to save the milk. This caused him to experience much displeasure. As stated in Śrīmad Bhagavatam 10.9.6, Shanjata kopa spuritanurandharam. His tiny reddish lips began quivering from anger. Mother Yaśoda's action greatly displeased Śrī Kṛṣṇa. But if we can conclude that her endeavor does not come within the definition of bhakti, then the fault of avyapti, underextension of the definition, arises. So what's the solution? If we say that saying that bhakti gives pleasure to Krishna is either overextending the definition of the verse or underextending it, then how should we define bhakti? This anukulyena? It is with moods favorable to Krishna, only wanting Krishna's benefit. That's how bhakti is performed. So Chanura and Mushtika, they didn't want Krishna's benefit. They wanted to kill Krishna. But Mother Yaśodā, she wasn't thinking about his happiness. She was thinking about his benefit. And so therefore she forcefully put Krishna down. All right. The nature of exalted devotees, Mahabhagavats, is that they want to engage every soul in Krishna's service. When Mother Yaśodā saw that the milk was sacrificing himself into the fire by boiling over because he was bereft of Krishna's service, she immediately removed her darling boy from her lap and tried to save it. With both of his hands, baby Krishna firmly caught hold of his mother's breast, and with his legs, he clung to her waist. He held onto his mother in this way with all his might. Putana, who had the strength of 10,000 elephants, could not free herself from his grip. But in the presence of Mother Yaśoda's Vatsalya Prem, Śrī Kṛṣṇa, the possessor of all potency, could not stop her from putting him down. With one hand, Mother Yaśodā easily pushed him off her breast. Then she removed him from her lap, sat him down nearby, and went to save the milk. The Siddhanta, the perfect philosophical conclusion behind this incident, is that Mother Yaśoda's love for Śrī Kṛṣṇa is much greater than his love for her. Indeed, Śrī Kṛṣṇa comes under the control of her love. In the presence of this motherly love imbued with deep possessiveness, all of Bhagavan's unlimited majestic potencies are defeated. Here, another point is to be considered. Although the superlative manifestation of Śrī Kṛṣṇa's unlimited opulence, his Aishvarya, is found only in Vraj, it remains submerged in the fathomless ocean of the sweetness contained within the Vraja pastimes. That is to say, even when Śrī Kṛṣṇa's infinite opulence is fully revealed, it easily fits within the all-accommodating embrace of Vraja's sweetness. And an example of this is salt and water. So let's say that salt is Aishvarya and water is Madhurya. So if you get a cup of water, if you put just a teaspoon of salt in it, the water will become very salty. But, so that would be like Krishna's pastimes in Mathura and Dwarka and, Ayodhya, like that. It's very full of opulence. The Aishvarya is overpowering, just like the salt is overpowering in a glass of water, the taste of salt. But if you get a river, which is like Braj, which is just overflowing with Madhurya, and remember the water is Madhurya, even if you throw a big, huge block of salt into the river water will still be sweet. And so the sweetness in Braj is so overpowering that no matter how much Aishvarya is there, you can't even detect it. It's so overpowered by the sweetness. Mother Yaśodā splashed cold water onto the pot of boiling milk as if to pacify it. "I'm going to use you in Krishna's service right now," she said. "Don't give up your life like this." Let me just check the comments, make sure everything is going okay. I think so. All right. So, yeah, don't give up your life like this. In the other room, however, baby Krishna was in a fit of rage. He picked up a stone pestle lying nearby and hit the base of the earthen pot of yogurt that his mother was churning, and he made a hole in it. A thick stream of yogurt began flowing all over the floor as Krishna watched with fascination. Although he was captivated by the sight of the stream of yogurt spilling onto the ground, it made him remember his mother. Consequently, he fearfully ran into a nearby room that had a doorway leading outside. Hanging from the ceiling was a pot of butter that enticed his mind. He already got distracted. He climbed up on top of an overturned grinding mortar and started eating the butter out of the pot, and at the same time feeding some of it to the crows and monkeys who had come. When Mother Yaśodā returned to the pot of yogurt to continue her churning, she saw that the stream of yogurt was flowing from the broken pot. She thought, This is surely the work of my clever son. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says in his commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam 10.9.7, Krishna was highly skillful in breaking the earthen pot, for he did not make a sound, nor did his ornaments. Nor did he make any sound in the other room as he climbed on the top of the grinding mortar to take butter. Indeed, this could only have been the accomplishment of her intelligent son. By the tiny footprints of yogurt on the floor, the sweet smell of butter coming from the room nearby, and various other clues, Mother Yaśodā easily guessed, my beloved son has entered that very room. Peering inside, she saw Śrī Kṛṣṇa standing on the grinding mortar, stealing fresh butter. She took a small stick in her hands to punish her clever child, and tiptoed into the room like a cat. But as soon as she entered, the crows and monkeys fled. Śrī Kṛṣṇa immediately understood, Mother has come! He leapt from the grinding mortar and fled outside towards the royal lane. Mother Yaśodā also ran on to the road, pursuing her son. The silk cloth on Mother Yaśoda's somewhat full bluish limbs fluttered as she swiftly ran, and the beautiful fragrant flowers that were woven into her braid began to fall as if to say, Mother, you are not alone. We are also with you. Catch him, quickly. So even the flowers in Mother Yaśoda's hair are conscious, and they're speaking to the Mother Yaśodā. No, we're with you. Catch him quickly. Mother Yaśoda's pace exceeded Krishna's, and thus she caught hold of him from behind. If we are to obtain Śrī Kṛṣṇa, then we must love him more than he loves us. This got 3 highlighters in the Kindle book. Only then can he be controlled. Let's read that again. If we are to obtain Śrī Kṛṣṇa, then we must love him more than he loves us. Only then can he be controlled. we will also have to love him with great intimacy, vishramba bhav, and with the same simple natural attachment, lokik sambandhuvat, as the residents of Vraj, especially the gopas and their wives. Śrī Kṛṣṇa may be pleased by the love that is mixed with the moods of awe and reverence, aishvarya, but he cannot be controlled by it. Just see, with the mood of a simple mother, Śrī Yaśodā naturally regards Śrī Kṛṣṇa as her son and chastises him. Śrī Kṛṣṇa is offered worship everywhere else, but when he is in Vraj, he is the servant, and the inhabitants of Vraj are his masters. On the command of the gopis, he begins to dance. He puts Nanda Baba's slippers on his head and delivers them to him. Under Yogamaya's influence, he forgets his supremacy and enacts his pastimes as an ordinary human being. This is called Madhurya Lila, Śrī Kṛṣṇa's honey-like pastimes. Although Śrī Kṛṣṇa's pastimes in Vraj are full of opulence, that opulence does not even slightly stifle the love that the inhabitants of Vraj have for him. Instead, it invigorates their honey-like love, causing it to condense even more. This is the speciality of the love in Vraj. The practicing devotee, the sadhak, should also desire to perform activities that will melt Śrī Kṛṣṇa's heart. Śrī Kṛṣṇa will not be able to resist him for very long. He will accept that devotee within his whole heart and immerse him in his own sublime service. Thus ends the Dig-darśinī-vṛtti of the first verse. Wow, that was beautiful. All right, so we will continue. We will read verse 2 tomorrow. All right, so I guess I'll just end with a little kirtan and then, see you tomorrow. Also, sometime today, I want to read about my Param Gurudev. I don't know what time I should do that. Maybe I'll read at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock, maybe 11 o'clock. Then I can do some work also. All right. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Govinda Damadara Madhaveti, Govinda Damadara Madhaveti, Govinda Damadara Madhaveti, Govinda Damadara Madhaveti, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Radhe Radhe Radhe, Jai 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 Shri Radhe, Radhe Radhe Radhe, Jai 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 Shri Radhe, Radhe Radhe Radhe, Jai 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 Shri Radhe, Radhe
Radhe Radhe Jai 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 Shri Radhe 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 Jai 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 Shri Radhe 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 Jai 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 Shri Radhe Jaya Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radhe Jai Radha Damodara Radha Damodara Radhe Jaya Nanda Nandan Jaya Yasodā Nandan Nanda Nandan Jaya Yasodā Nandan Jaya Nanda Nandan Jaya Yasodā Nandan Nanda Nandan Jaya Yasodā Nandan Jaya Giri Raja Govardhana Giri Raja Jaya Govardhana Jaya Tulsi Maharani Jaya Vrinda Devi Tulsi Maharani Jaya Vrinda Devi Jaya Vrindavan Dham Vrindavan Dham Vrindavan Dham Jaya Vrindavan Dham Jaya Navadvipa Dham Jaya Navadvipa Dham Navadvipa Dham Jaya Navadvipa Dham Jaya Saccidānanda Gaura Hari Saccidānanda Jaya Gaura Hari Jaya Saccidānanda Jaya Gaura Hari Saccidānanda Jaya Gaura Hari Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Sapashara Srila Prabhupada Sapashara Srila Prabhupada Jaya Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Bhakti Pragyan Jaya Keshav Goswami Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Bhakti Pragyan Srila Keshav Goswami Jai Guru Deva Guru Deva Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jai Guru Deva Guru Deva Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Gaur Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol Jai Shri Guru Garanga Gandharvika Giridhari Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai Nitila Pavishtam Vishnu Shri Radha Damodar Ju Ki Jai Nitila Pavishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shmad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Shila Gurudeva Ki Jai Nitila Pavishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shmad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Nitila Pavishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shmad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitila Pavishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shmad Shila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Tadiya Shubha Tirobhav Titi Maha Mahotsav Ki Jai Nitila Pavishtam Vishnupad Ashtatarashata Shmad Shila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitila Pavishta Mahabhagavat Shila Gorksharas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Nitila Pavishta Shila Saccidānanda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai Nitila Pavishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Bhatta Dashraghunath Shad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshada Vrinda Ki Jai Namachay Shila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai
Shri Kshetra Mandala, Gora Mandala, Vraja Mandala, Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj ki jai. Shri Radha Kund Shama Kund ki jai. Shri Yamuna Devi Ganga Devi ki jai. Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Purnamasi Yogamaya ki jai. Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai. Shri Kartik Vrat ki jai. Damodar Vrat ki jai. Urja Vrat ki jai. Urjeshwari Shri Vishabhanu Nandini Shrimati Radha Thakurani ki jai. Urja Vrat Palan Kari Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Radha Damodar Ju ki jai. Shri Nanda Baba Yaśodā Maya ki jai. Śrī Dāmodarāṣṭakam ki jai. Śrī Satyavrat Muni ki jai. Śrī Kṛṣṇa Dvaipayan Veda Vyasdev ki jai. Śrī Śrīla Sanatana Goswami Pad ki jai. Śrīla Gurudev ki jai. Śrī Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Śrī Vrajmandal Parikrama ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shinitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Sattvatai Namo Namaha. Vancha Kalpatarubhyashta Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Right, Dandavat Pranams everybody. Thank you so much for joining me in this reading. And I will be going, right now it's 9 o'clock a.m. So I'll be going live in 2 hours, at 11 o'clock. I need to do 2 hours of work and then we can, we can read something by my Param Gurudev. I'll read for like an hour or something, maybe a bit more than an hour and a half. All right. Jai Shri Radhe, Haribo. See you all tomorrow. Also, if there are any things, like if you have any feedback, please give it to me. Like if I'm reading too fast, if I'm reading too slow, if you don't want me to stop and like explain things like I did this time, or any kind of feedback. Also, if the sound is not good, if the sound's too loud or too soft, give me any kind of feedback. It's very helpful when I get feedback. And then, I really appreciate it. All right. Dandavat Pranams. See you all in 2 hours. Or otherwise, see you tomorrow for the second verse. Jai Shri Radhe. Haribo.